Welcome, Diecast fans. I'm Tom Spanners-Watson.
And I'm Frank the Kiwi Gibbs.
And welcome to round number 2, where we put the Ford Thunderbird Prostreet Cars up against the Holden Monaro Prostreet Cars.
We haven't run Prostreet Cars before, so I'm really looking forward to see how they do. Certainly the trucks and the Utes put on a fantastic show last week.
And speaking of fantastic shows, how about the new Outlaw Wannabes?
Oh, that was a fantastic competition on Friday night. If you haven't seen it, make sure you go and check it out. And of course, tune in for the second lot of Wannabes racing this Friday night as well.
That's enough about the Outlaws. Let's have a look at who's driving tonight. First up for Holden, driving the 06 petrolhead car is Mikey.
Then in the Fit Up sponsored 03 Holden Monaro, we've got Jane G.
It's a good looking car, but they're going to have their work cut out against the Thunderbirds. Driving in the Redline Derby racing car, we've got Brian.
And finally, driving the Shell T-Bird, we've got Sally J.
The drivers are ready, so let's send them up to the tunnel.
So as we line them up for the first time, we've got Mikey and Brian in the front row and Sally and Jane in the back row.
The light goes green and we get the Prostreet Cars underway for the first time. Brian with a good lead there. Oh, the two Holdens tangle up and around goes Sally. Sally and the Shell Thunderbird. What a beautiful overtake of everybody there. Nice and clean through Big Kahuna Corner. Looks like Brian spinning around in the background there. Can he get going? He does. Here come the rest of the field. And that was a pretty tight grouping for third and fourth there.
Brian with a nice lead there, and then the two Holdens tangled up. Sally saw her opportunity, cuts up the inside beautifully, and then also manages to overtake Brian.
Then as we go to the finish line cam, you see Brian come through, then Jane and Mikey fourth.
At least all four drivers made it down. I wasn't sure those Prostreet cars were going to work, especially the Holdens with those super narrow front wheels, but they actually did pretty good.
As the drivers rotated around, we got Brian and Jane in the front row, Mikey and Sally in the back row. Brian again feeding it some jandle early, out to a nice lead. Another big drifter, he overcooks it. This time Sally right on his tail. Sally pushes past with a nice move. She overcooks her drift. Brian goes around the outside again. He manages to keep it clean this time through Big Kahuna Corner, and he is going to take the win. Sally not far behind. She'll pick up second.
Brian's definitely got a lead foot. He jumps out to a huge lead again, but he's got to learn to lift off as he goes through a corner. He's not on a drag strip now.
And Mikey also needs to learn some car control, but what a battle up front there.
Jane did such a good job to muscle past, put the hammer down a little bit too early, gave it too many beans on the exit and spun around. Obviously these Prostreet dragsters are just unfamiliar with the concept of tuning, and Mikey there getting an assist back on his wheels.
Brian holding on to the lead with 10 points, Jane and Sally tied on 6, and Mikey all the way back on 1 point.
If Mikey wants to keep his Holden in this competition, he's going to have to win the next two races, which is going to be difficult from the back row there.
Jane and Sally leading the pack out this time. Jane edging into the lead, but she goes mid sideways. Sally looking for a way past. Mikey on her tail. Brian works his way past Mikey, but then he tangles up with Sally, and we've got Jane out in front doing a massive 360, but she gets it together and will take the win. There goes Mikey. Somehow he got around the two Thunderbirds, and Sally crosses the line.
All of these drivers are obviously only used to driving in this straight line because they are shocking at taking corners, and they turn it into dodgems. But look at Mikey there, just drive right past the two Thunderbirds. It's almost like they'd stopped racing and we're chatting about the weather.
As we look at the scoreboard, Jane taking the lead now. Brian 2 points behind. Sally 2 points behind her. Mike dragging the chain at the back.
Mike's only hope of getting through this is if he finishes first and no one else crosses.
Well, the way everybody's been driving, it is a possibility. Sally and the Thunderbird leading the field out. The two Monaros tangle up again and force a block on Brian. Sally keeping it nice and clean. Jane chasing hard in second place here. Mikey right on her tail. Jane makes a run for first, but Sally's going to hold on. Mikey third, and Brian's nowhere to be seen.
I swear Team Holden are working against each other. Look at that. It almost took each other out, but at least they put a block on Brian to stop him getting through.
Well, let's be honest. It would have been more effective if they'd blocked the front runner.
Well, they did what they could. Sally already had too big a lead. Whoa, look at Jane getting some air there.
So let's take a look at what that does to the final score and who's moving through.
Amazingly, we've got one Ford and one Holden. Congratulations, Sally and Jane. You're moving through to the next round.
As we move into round number 2 of the Prostreet Cars, driving the Red Bull Thunderbird, we've got Dave W.
And driving the second Thunderbird, we've got Katie M driving in the K&N filter car.
In the 04 Holden Monaro, sponsored by Granny's Muffins, we've got Greg M.
And rounding out the field in the 05 Tuck and Roll Sushi car, we've got Peter B driving the Holden Monaro.
Starting up front in this final series of races, we've got Dave W and Greg M. Behind them, Peter and Katie.
Well, let's just hope that this group know what a corner is and how to drive around one.
Dave in the Red Bull car out with a big lead, but he goes over. Dave goes over. The Monaro slips right by the whole field. That's Greg in the Granny's Muffins car. Out to a big lead, gets a nice drift through Big Kahuna Corner, and is going to seal the win. And racing up behind him is Peter B.
A great 1-2 finish there for Holden. And unfortunately, Dave just went way too hot into that first corner, ploughed into the wall, flipping him over, and then he ended up blocking his teammate. So poor Katie getting stuck there while Peter B was able to get around. And Greg out in front there with quite a nice drift through Big Kahuna Corner.
That is not the start that Team Ford would have wanted there. They're going to have to desperately get some points on the board.
Which is just so typical of a Ford, always lagging behind.
Settle down, mate. So far, one Ford and one Holden have gone through from every race, so it's been pretty even. Greg leading Katie with a beautiful move up the inside. It looks like Dave might have taken out Peter B in the background there, but Katie's not hanging around to find out. She is out to a massive lead, gets a spin on stops. Greg slams into it, gets her going again. They dawdle down to the finish line, but Katie just holds on.
Dirty play from the Fords all round. Look at that, just completely cut off Greg, even though he had the line. And Dave in the background there, totally slamming into Peter B and flipping him over.
And it looked like Katie was too keen to get down to the finish line there. Gave it the gas too early.
She's obviously not aware it's not just about turning the steering wheel. You got to lift your foot as well.
And Peter B there getting an assist back onto his wheels after he got taken out. So what has that done to the scores?
Greg holds on to the lead. Katie not too far behind. And dirty old Dave there still hasn't even got a point on the board, even though he's taking out drivers.
What are you suggesting we should hand out points for taking out drivers?
Well, maybe if it was a demolition derby, but this isn't meant to be. This is meant to be racing.
Well, obviously nobody explained that to these drivers as they get loose through Bogan Alley. Katie, the only one keeping it clean there, and this time takes a much better line through Big Kahuna Corner, keeps it straight, and will take the win. A hard charge there right at the end from Peter B, and there's Dave finishing as well.
Let's just go back to the replay in the first corner. Greg getting pushed into the wall there. He tried to take out Dave again, but unfortunately couldn't get going and stalled out next to the Holden. And then a very late charge there from Peter B. Almost managed to catch up while Greg's chilling out with the Bogans having a beer.
So as we go into the final race, Katie takes the lead now on 12 points. Greg just behind on 10. Peter still in with a chance, and he is starting on the front inside lane, but unfortunately Dave is well out on points. He won't be going through.
But I'll just keep my eye on him in case he tries to take people out.
Greg gets a nudge from Katie, goes sideways, over goes Peter B. Everybody's spinning out. We got Dave out in front now, driving down the track in reverse. No one else in sight at this point, but here comes Greg and Katie having a huge battle in behind here. Dave's going to walk away with the win, and Katie shuts out Greg right on the finish line, and she'll take second, Greg third.
It was utter chaos in that first corner. Katie got into the side of Greg. Peter B slammed into the railing, flipped right over, but luckily didn't block out his teammate who managed to get going. Greg putting on a huge battle in behind here with Katie as Dave started to slow down in the final straight. Look at that overtake there by the Monaro, and unfortunately as he tried to straighten up on the exit, he just slowed down a bit too much. And look at that, they even took out the truck right on the finish line.
Well, you did say that Dave was likely to take someone out, and he did. That truck has been punished badly, and the driver still got his foot floored.
Yeah, the container company's not going to be happy about that, and neither is Peter B finishing on his roof again.
So when we tally up the points, that means that Katie and Greg will be moving through, and that is another Ford and a Holden moving through. So through this whole competition, we have had one Ford and one Holden move through from every single race. That's incredible.
Well, I've got some ideas on how we can shake it up next week if you want.
Well, let's just see what happens next week. All right, thanks very much for watching. We hope you've enjoyed this. I'm Tom Spanners Watson. He's Frank the Guru Gibbs. We look forward to seeing you next time.